My name is Erin Dwyer. I'm 36 years old. I grew up in Georgia, now live in DC, and I've learned to keep secrets for a living. You've always been more book smart than real smart. No offense, but you're basically the cautionary tale here. Tiffany says it loud enough for the entire living room to hear. She's wearing a pink floral dress that hugs her 8-month baby bump. Her smile is radiant. Her tone, just acidic enough to sound sweet. Everyone laughs soft, polite, and very real. I don't laugh. I stare down at my paper plate, half-eaten mini quiche, a melting strawberry tart, and blink slowly once. My jaw doesn't tighten, but something in my chest twists just slightly like a string pulled taut. I feel it settle there in the hollow of my ribs. We're standing in our parents' living room in Marietta. The walls are still peach-colored. The couch is wrapped in clear plastic just like it's been since 1995. There are pastel balloons taped to the door frame. A diaper cake on the table. Light piano music playing from a phone dock. 30 women, mostly cousins and neighbors and friends from Tiffany's yoga class, gathered to celebrate her next chapter. I'm the chapter that's already been closed. Don't take it the wrong way, she adds, laughing and sipping from her mimosa. You know we love you. But come on, you live alone in a studio apartment with blackout curtains and like 6 laptops. You ghost people. You work. Where again? She looks at me expectantly, cocking her head like she already knows the answer will be unimpressive. I say nothing, because I can't say where I work, because if I do, this baby shower becomes a federal breach. So I just smile, quietly. I nod like it doesn't matter, like I'm not carrying an encrypted phone in my purse with an alert that just lit up bright red. Surveillance unit in position, ready for confirmation. I press the side button. The message disappears. No one sees. Tiffany turns her attention back to her guests. My mother glances toward the hallway, clearly wishing I'd join in more. My aunt passes me a napkin with a wink and says, "We're doing guess the baby food next." I nod again. But inside my heart isn't here. It's already moving, already locking into protocol. 2 minutes later, I excuse myself to take a call outside. As I reach the front porch, a sleek black SUV rolls slowly past the house, then stops. 2 plain-clothed men step out and walk toward me with precision in their stride. One of them leans in and whispers, "Ma'am, they're here." And just like that, the baby shower ends for me. I didn't drive to Georgia for pastel games and cucumber sandwiches. I came because I thought maybe this time would be different. That maybe Tiffany, my younger sister, my mother's favorite, the one with the suburban 2-story and the perfect teeth, might look at me and finally see me. Not the weird one, not the loner, not the almost 37 and still single sister. But that's not how it works in my family. In my family, success wears makeup smiles often and carries a diaper bag. I carry flash drives, burner phones, and a memory full of faces no one is supposed to remember. My relationship with Tiffany has always been a performance. For her, I mean. I play the misfit sister so she can shine. It's our dynamic, and she thrives in it. When we were kids, she got praise for being friendly. I got notes home for being too quiet. She was the one in dance recitals. I was the one taking apart the VCR. But this day. This wasn't teasing. This was deliberate. Calling me a failure with a smile in front of everyone, that was a choice. And for a second, I felt it hit deep, like maybe she believed it, like maybe everyone in that room believed it. But then the alert came. "Ma'am, they're here." And suddenly it was so laughable I almost choked, because while Tiffany played hostess and crowned herself Queen of Normal, I was coordinating an extraction op involving 4 law enforcement agencies and a federal witness with a target on his head. But sure, let's talk about how my eggs are probably drying up. I follow the agents to the back of the SUV. They hand me a burner tablet already lit with live facial feeds from the safe house 3 blocks away. The operation is clean. No complications. My role is limited, just an in-person confirmation and final transmission to the mobile unit. I handle it in under 5 minutes. No one sees me. No one ever does. Which is exactly why I'm good at what I do. I don't operate in rooms full of confetti and matching dresses. I operate in silence. And yet, for some stupid reason, I still came home. Still tried to prove something. Still brought a gift, wrapped it neatly, even tied a real satin ribbon. I tried to matter. After the op concludes, I don't drive back to the house. I sit in the car for a moment longer, holding the burner tablet in one hand and looking at the little note card I'd tucked into the gift bag earlier that morning. To my baby niece, you have no idea how protected you already are. No signature, just that. I doubt she'll ever read it. Even if she does, they'll probably assume it was from someone else. Someone less strange. That's the story of my life. Invisible until absolutely necessary. Necessary but never invited. I placed the note card back in the bag, set it down gently beside me, then I finally let myself feel it. Not anger, not hurt. Just the quiet resignation that some people will never know what you do for them and they wouldn't care even if they did. But one day they might need you anyway. And when they do, you'll be there. Maybe not for them, but for the ones who can't protect themselves. That's what I'm built for. You're absolutely right to check and thank you for catching that. You originally requested the story in English, and I mistakenly delivered Section 2 in Vietnamese. Let's fix that now. Here is the corrected Section 2 in English, fully rewritten and in line with the tone structure and style from Section 1. Section 2, Backstory, Context and Key Relationships. 1, EO 78 words. I was born in northern Georgia, in a town where people care more about matching Easter outfits than national policy, where dads call their daughters princess until they get married unless you're me. Erin Dwyer, born 1988. First daughter of Carol and Robert Dwyer. Older sister to Tiffany Dwyer, now Tiffany Benson. I was the first kid in my high school to get early acceptance into MIT. I won the National Mathematics Scholarship my junior year, but my father didn't come to the award ceremony. When my mom asked him why, he said she doesn't need another medal. She needs to learn to talk to people. I did try once, but a girl who likes encryption more than prom and doesn't know how to small talk, in a town like ours, she's not special. She's strange. Meanwhile, Tiffany. She was exactly what this town wants from a daughter, friendly, charming, perfectly, in step with the world around her. She went to Georgia State, met her husband in spin class, got married on a Pinterest-perfect barn, and is now carrying her first child, golden and glowing. And me, I'm the one they politely avoid talking about in group texts. After graduation, I started working for the federal government quietly. My first contract was with Project Echo, a surveillance-based operations unit under the U.S. Marshals Service. We handled data combing, real-time trace monitoring, and high-risk witness extractions. Not that I could tell anyone. I signed my first non-disclosure before I ever filed my taxes. I moved to D.C. and built a life that no one in my family understands. No social media, no birthday selfies, no Christmas cards with golden retrievers and matching pajamas. They think I'm in tech consulting. That's what I let them believe. Because explaining what I actually do would be useless. They wouldn't believe me, and they wouldn't care. When Tiffany got engaged, I flew home to be there. She introduced me to her bridal party as my sister Erin. She's like crazy smart, but she lives in this tiny place and works with computers or something. She laughed. They laughed. I laughed too. Because it's easier to perform a version of yourself that they can digest than force-feed them the truth. They want a girl in a sundress with a charming boyfriend and an Instagram page, not a woman who spends her nights configuring silent pings across private servers and tracing violent actors through the dark web. And I used to think they'd be proud of me one day. I imagined my mom telling her friends, my daughter helped stop a cyber attack on the Eastern Power Grid last year, or my dad slipping a copy of my White House commendation into a desk drawer. But none of that ever happened. They still introduce me as our oldest. She does something with computers in D.C. And the thing is, that hurts more than being hated. It means I've never even registered. I once brought a boyfriend home. It lasted 48 hours. He left early and told me later, "You act like you're on another planet, like you have secrets I'm not supposed to know." I didn't respond. I couldn't. He was right. I live in two realities. In one, I'm the girl who shows up late to family dinners and leaves early. In the other, I'm the woman who helps build the digital perimeter that keeps the country from falling apart. They don't overlap, and sometimes I forget which one is real. In 15 years, I've participated in more than 30 federal operations. I've protected informants, thwarted data leaks, and stopped attacks before they made the news. I've received encrypted messages in the middle of meals left hotel rooms at 3 a.m. in different countries and rewritten firewall policies that protect every hospital east of the Mississippi. I was in a basement command room when a cyber attack on Chicago nearly shut down their transit system. I was in a van parked outside a courthouse when a state senator's family was targeted for assassination. I once coordinated a sting while pretending to be a Lyft driver. And in all that time, not once did Tiffany call to ask if I was okay. A few years ago, I came home for Christmas. Tiffany had just bought a new house. My parents beamed with pride. She's nesting, they said. I walked into my old bedroom and found it completely gone, painted pink and white, labeled Baby Benson's closet. Every memory of my childhood was in a box in the garage. I stood there holding one of my old math trophies in my hand while the laughter from the kitchen echoed through the halls, and I realized something I had been erased, not maliciously, just quietly, effortlessly. They made space for who Tiffany was becoming by packing away everything I ever was. I don't say this for pity. I say it because I used to believe being strong meant being silent. That if I kept showing up holidays, showers, birthdays someday, they'd stop seeing me as the strange one and finally ask the one question I've waited decades to hear Aaron. What is it you really do? They never asked. Until that day, the baby shower, the insult, the laughter, the pain. And then the moment outside. When the two agents stepped forward, eyes locked, movements crisp, and said, "Ma'am, they're here." And I realized they may never ask, they may never care. But out there, someone does. And for the first time in my life, I was ready to stop hiding. I didn't go back inside the baby shower, not even to say goodbye. I watched the surveillance SUV turn the corner, disappearing down the quiet cul-de-sac, then stood on the porch with my hand still curled around the doorknob. The sunlight filtered through the dogwoods, and inside I could hear laughter, Tiffany's voice rising in that bright, sugary cadence. The kind she used when she knew she was being watched. I could still hear it in my head. "You're basically the cautionary tale here." The worst part wasn't that she said it. It was that everyone laughed. No one said, "Hey, that's too far." No one defended me. No one even looked uncomfortable. That moment was confirmation, like a quiet verdict finally spoken aloud. To them, I'd always be the strange one, the disappointment, the story you tell your daughters when you want them to stop dreaming too big. I ended up at a gas station off I-75, sitting in my car with the engine idling, trying to breathe. Not because I didn't expect it. I did. I always expect to be overlooked, to be misread, to be conveniently forgotten when it's time to pass out praise. But not like that. Not in front of 30 people. Not with that smug, smiling little pause Tiffany gave before twisting the knife. And certainly not after I'd traveled 600 miles, missed 2 briefings, and risked my personal line being compromised just to show up. Just to be family. And still, somehow, I wasn't even that. I was a punchline. The Dwyers have always done this. Our family doesn't fight loud. We wound with subtlety, cutting smiles and cold silences. My father hasn't raised his voice in 20 years, but he's mastered the art of disappointed glances that linger long after the conversation ends. My mother covers awkwardness with casseroles and soft sighs, and Tiffany, she does it best of all, she weaponizes kindness. That baby shower was never really about the baby. It was about hierarchy, about roles. Tiffany's the accomplished one, the successful one, the normal one. And me, I was invited as contrast. A living reminder of what happens when a woman dares to live differently. And I felt it, every fake smile, every half hug, every polite, "Oh, that's nice," when I mentioned anything vaguely related to my job. At one point, I'd started to explain something, a cybersecurity breach that nearly compromised a medical data vault tied to pediatric hospitals in 4 states. Tiffany interrupted. "Wait, are you talking about that hacking thing, girl? We don't speak in robot. Tell it like it's Bravo, or don't tell it at all." Laughter. Again. My mother chuckled into her wine glass. I went quiet, and that silence, that was my betrayal, because I'd let them believe it, that I was the strange one, the failure, the one who didn't belong. I drove to a quiet spot in a nature preserve just outside town. parked, walked a trail I used to run as a teenager. My boots crunched over pine needles. Birds chirped somewhere overhead. The breeze smelled like magnolia and memory, and for the first time in a long while I let myself cry. Not the small, discreet tears I allow in hotel bathrooms or between field briefings. Real, ugly, chest-heaving sobs, because it hit me then, hard and unrelenting. I have spent my whole adult life protecting people who would never protect me. I've poured my brain, my instincts, my body into a system that demands everything but offers no applause. I've risked my life in places that don't exist on maps for names I'll never remember to stop tragedies that will never make headlines. And the one place I thought might offer a sliver of warmth dismissed me publicly, with cake in hand. I opened my phone. 3 new secure messages. 1 red flagged. Operation Albatross resurface for command brief. 19 Euro EST. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed a reply, ETA 7 HRs. I'm en route. I slid the phone into my bag, not because I wanted to run, but because I needed to remember who I was outside of them. I needed to remind myself that while they were sipping sparkling juice and ranking baby names, I was preparing to oversee a federal operation with lives on the line. And yes, no one in that family would know. But I would. And maybe for once that would be enough. Before I left town, I drove back to the baby shower. The cars were thinning out. A few women lingered on the porch holding cellophane-wrapped gifts and waving goodbye. I didn't go in. I dropped the gift bag on the porch step. Inside, a silver rattle, a copy of A Wrinkle in Time, and the card I wrote the night before. To my niece, I don't know what you'll grow up to be, but I hope it's whatever the hell you want. You don't owe anyone smallness. No name. Just the truth. And that was all I had left to give. I didn't drive straight back to D.C. I needed distance from Georgia, from the shame, from the version of myself that still thought maybe this time they'd see me. I stopped halfway, and Charlotte checked into a hotel under my field alias and turned off every notification except the red line. I left the TV off. Didn't answer messages. Didn't unpack. I sat on the edge of the bed with the blackout curtains drawn and stared at the wall for what must have been an hour. There's a special kind of emptiness that comes after you finally let go of hope. It doesn't feel like rage. It's quiet, cold, like standing in a house that's been emptied out but your name's still on the lease. I thought about Tiffany, about how easily she said it. You're basically the cautionary tale, like she believed it, like the whole room did. Like my story had already been written and it was a warning, not a legacy. And maybe the worst part was, I started to believe it too. I opened my secure laptop reflex really and stared at the login screen for a long time. I didn't log in. Instead, I opened the folder I keep hidden beneath layers of encryption. Ghost files. It's not work. It's not evidence. It's just me. Things I never sent. Reports I wasn't allowed to submit under my own name. Briefings I authored that got rebranded by superiors. A collection of shadows that make up the truest version of what I've done and who I am. There's a report in there marked Octavia. One of the first major operations I ran point on disarming a financial laundering network that was funneling money into domestic terror groups. The official credit went to 2 men I barely worked with. Their faces were on the press release, but the rooting logic that identified the breach, that was mine. The shutdown protocol, also mine. And the tip-off that led to the final sting that came from a message sent to my line on a night I was working alone over cold noodles and instant coffee. No one knew, but I did. And tonight, sitting in a quiet hotel room with an untouched go bag at my feet and a name I couldn't even use on the check-in form, I felt like a ghost of a person. A myth no one had cared enough to believe in. Around 2:00 a.m., I finally moved. I walked down the hall to the vending machine, bought a tiny bottle of apple juice, stared at myself in the mirror across from the elevator. No makeup, hair tied back, t-shirt from a data privacy conference 5 years ago. I looked like a student, a civilian, someone harmless. No one ever suspects the woman who looks like she just woke up from a nap. I took a sip of juice and whispered to my reflection, maybe they're right. Maybe I am the one who doesn't belong. The words hung there suspended, and then something broke, Not in a bad way, not like a crack, more like a release, like a long-held breath finally exhaled. I pulled out my phone and opened the text thread from Tiffany. It was all still there, cheerful emojis, baby name polls, Pinterest links. I scrolled all the way up to the very first message. A blurry photo of us from 10 years ago, arms slung over each other's shoulders at some BBQ. I remember that day. I'd just finished my second year working under Project Echo. I'd saved a life that week. No one at the party knew. Tiffany had just been accepted into grad school for communications. Everyone toasted to her. That was the last time I remember her hugging me like she meant it. I started typing a message. Tiff just wanted to say, then I stopped, deleted it, locked my phone, and whispered aloud, she doesn't deserve it, because she didn't, because I was done sending messages into silence. I didn't sleep. Instead, I opened a new document on the secure laptop, titled it, For Me. Then I started writing down everything I've done that matters, not for clearance, not for a report, not for history, just for me. Operation Octavia, Lead Analyst Extraction Coordinator Final Comms, Safe House Relocation, Phoenix Dual Witness Protection under 12-hour threat clock. Code Red Intercept SEA AI 2021. Flagged anomaly, forced realignment of 3 protocols across NSA DOJ. 3 times called in for Level 4 emergencies without public documentation. Each line felt like stitching something back together. Each entry was proof that I was not a ghost. I was not a footnote. I was a force. And yes, maybe no one clapped. Maybe no one ever would. But my silence had built walls strong enough to hold nations together, and it was time I let that matter. At dawn, I finally opened my go bag, pulled out the pressed black slacks button-up tactical boots. I dressed slow, methodically. No makeup, hair in a bun. The same look I always wear in the field. I left the hotel without checking out. There was a federal facility 2 hours north waiting for me, a debrief on an intel crossmatch that could stop an international trade crisis. They needed me, and I'd show up. Not as Tiffany's sister, not as the Dwyer's disappointment, but as myself, whole, unapologetic, and done begging to be understood. By the time I reached the facility, the sun had risen, the fog had burned off, and I was clear-eyed in a way I hadn't been in years. The building wasn't marked. It never is. Just another windowless government rectangle tucked into the folds of a rural Virginia parkway protected by biometric scanners, armed personnel, and layers of silence. I parked in the back, took the side entrance, and passed through 3 levels of clearance. No one said good morning. That's how I like it. Inside, I was escorted to a cold gray conference room where 2 analysts and a field officer from Homeland Security waited. I'd been briefed on the premise an intercepted signal unusual code patterns originating from a known vendor, possible foreign interference cloaked as supply chain movement. But they didn't know what they were looking at. I did. I took one look at the raw signal string and said, that's not a breach. That's a decoy relay. Someone's fishing for latency. They're mapping our response time, not trying to get in. The room went still. The Homeland officer blinked. You're sure I'm sure? Within 20 minutes, I had redirected the investigation to the right channel and submitted a protocol update to prevent further exposure. I watched them watch me. None of them smiled, but their nods were sharper this time, quieter, respectful. I didn't need applause. I needed precision. And for the first time in weeks, I felt it return that internal alignment, like every gear had clicked back into place. After the meeting, I sat in the unmarked cafeteria with a bitter cup of coffee and pulled out my notebook. Not the ghost files, not an op plan, something personal. At the top of the page, I wrote, what stays, what goes. I drew 2 columns beneath it, one for what I wanted to hold on to, one for what I was ready to let go of. What stays my work, my integrity, my silence but only where it matters, my autonomy, the love I give even when it's never returned. What goes my need to be understood by people who refuse to try, apologizing for being intense, family roles that never fit, that damn photo of Tiffany's gender reveal party I've had saved in my phone for 6 months, the version of me who still waits for an invitation to belong. It was a reckoning in ink, It was long overdue. The next day, I booked a week off, not for recovery, for redirection. I flew to Seattle under a travel alias and spent 5 days in a co-op workshop for women in emerging intelligence. I didn't speak on a panel. I didn't sit in the front row. I just listened, took notes, ate greasy food in silence, and slept like a stone. On the third day, I met a woman named Lee, a former field operative turned trauma analyst. She told me something that stuck. We're trained to vanish in a crisis, but sometimes what saves us is staying visible to ourselves. I wrote that down, word for word, because that's what I'd done for too long. Vanished into roles, into shadows, into systems built by men who assumed I'd never raise my voice. But I could, and maybe I would. When I got back to DC, I took the long route home, parked in front of my apartment building but didn't go inside. Instead, I walked 5 blocks to a small indie bookstore, a place I used to visit in my 20s before the weight of clearance levels and midnight field calls made weekends blur together. I bought myself a hardback copy of The Body Keeps the Score. The woman at the register smiled and said, "Trying to heal something," and I said, "Trying to stop pretending I'm fine." Back in my apartment, I cleaned house. Digitally, emotionally, physically. I deleted Tiffany's thread, archived my parents' contacts into a folder marked Quiet Zone, removed myself from the extended family's Facebook event list. And then I started something I'd never dared do before. I wrote a letter. To my future niece, it read, "Hi. You don't know me yet, or maybe you'll know the version they describe at holidays, quiet, intense, different. But here's what I want you to know. You're allowed to be complicated. You're allowed to choose a life that makes people uncomfortable. You don't owe anyone your smallness just because they're louder. I don't know what kind of world you'll grow up in, but I hope it's one where women like us don't have to disappear to be safe. If I'm ever not around to tell you these things, remember this. You come from a long line of women who adapted, but you get to build. I didn't sign it with love. I signed it with respectfully Aunt Erin, and I sealed it in an envelope, stamped it, and dropped it in a locked drawer marked someday. The next time the red line buzzed, I answered with clarity. Not from a place of exhaustion, not from resentment, from power, from knowing exactly who I was and what I was not, and what I would no longer carry just to make someone else comfortable. I wasn't done with my family, but I was done begging for space in their narrative. I'd write my own, and when the time came to return, I'd do it on my terms. The invitation came in the mail, real paper, Tiffany's handwriting, sealed in a pale pink envelope with embossed gold cursive. Join us to welcome baby Olivia into the world. Family dinner at Mom and Dad's. No apology, no acknowledgement. Just the next act in a play where we all knew our lines. I was expected to show up, bring a soft gift, and stay politely out of frame. But something had shifted in me. I looked at that envelope for 3 days. Then I said, I'll go, but I won't go as her shadow. I didn't wear what they expected. No cardigan, no black jeans, no polite anonymity. I wore my agency issue field jacket, dark slacks, badge holder at the hip, hair tied back sharp, eyes unflinching. I didn't announce I was coming. I just showed up 10 minutes early while they were still setting out the napkins. My mother blinked when she opened the door. "Oh, Erin, honey, you came. We didn't think I got the invitation." I walked in past her and straight into the kitchen. Tiffany stood there barefoot, holding a casserole dish with oven mitts shaped like owls. She froze. "Wow." "Okay, that's a look," she said, half laughing. "I came from work," I said. She raised an eyebrow. Still doing the secret hacker gig, I looked her dead in the eye. I direct operations for interagency cybercrime strategy. My decisions affect infrastructure protection protocols in 17 states. Silence. She blinked. "Oh," she said. Just that. Not wow. Not congrats. Not even a nod. Just oh, as if I'd told her the casserole needed 5 more minutes. Dinner was tense. The table was crowded, my parents, Tiffany and her husband, a few aunts and uncles, their kids. Conversation tiptoed around me like I might go off any moment. I didn't offer up stories. I didn't explain myself. I just observed. Midway through, Tiffany's husband made a joke about baby monitors being spying devices. Everyone laughed. Then he looked at me. "Oh, sorry, Erin, are we on one of your lists now?" I didn't laugh. Instead, I reached into my inside jacket pocket, pulled out my federal credential, set it gently on the table next to my plate. His smile evaporated. "Whoa," he said. "Is that real?" I looked up at him calmly. "Yes," I said. "It's real. So is the work I do. So is everything I've protected you from without you ever knowing it." The table went silent. Forks paused midair. My father cleared his throat. "I didn't know they let civilians into those roles," he said softly. I turned to him. "They do. When we're good enough." After dinner, I stepped outside to get some air. The porch was empty, save for the soft clinking of dishes through the open window. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Tiffany. She had a blanket wrapped around her shoulders and that same half-curious, half-critical expression she always wore when it was just the two of us. "I didn't mean for the shower to go that way," she said. "Yes, you did." She looked down. Didn't deny it. "You embarrassed me," I continued, "in front of everyone. You made me feel like I was less. And the worst part is, you enjoyed it." She swallowed hard. "I didn't think you cared. You've always been so closed off." "I'm closed off," I said, "because the moment I try to show who I am, I get punished for it." We stood there in the night air, two women same blood but galaxies apart. "I guess I didn't know who you were," she said. "No," I replied. "You never asked." She stepped back, arms folded. "So, what you want me to throw a parade now?" "Say, I'm sorry." "No," I said. "I want you to understand that your idea of success isn't the only one. I want you to understand that I've built something, that I've saved lives, that I've been invisible so you could feel visible. And I'm done with that." She didn't reply, and I didn't need her to. Inside, my parents were gathering coffee mugs. My mother looked at me, her expression unreadable. "You were brave tonight," she said quietly. I turned. "No, Mom. I wasn't brave tonight. I've always been brave. You just finally saw it." I didn't stay for dessert. I picked up my coat, slid my credentials back into my jacket, and said goodnight. No hugs, no tearful goodbyes. But as I walked to the door, my father followed me, stopped short just before I stepped outside. "Aaron." I turned. "I know I haven't said it," he said. "But I see you now. That counts for something, doesn't it?" I gave him a long look. "I'm still deciding." He nodded. "That's fair." And I walked out. It wasn't a full reckoning, it wasn't redemption, but it was confrontation. And that was enough. Not to make them love me differently, but to make me love me differently. And for the first time, that was more than enough. 3 months have passed since that dinner. I haven't spoken to Tiffany. Not out of spite, out of clarity. Sometimes peace isn't something you find in forgiveness. Sometimes peace is what fills the space when you stop trying to fix people who never asked to be understood. My parents call occasionally. Small things, weather updates, a recipe my mom found that Aaron might like. We speak politely, carefully, and that's okay. I've stopped trying to make the relationship something it isn't. My job hasn't changed. The hours are still long, the missions still classified. I still slip in and out of rooms no one else knows exist. Still sign my name in ink that disappears the second I close the file. But I have changed. I come home and light a candle before I open my laptop. I've started cooking real meals instead of ordering boxed protein bowls. I journal just for me. And I started mentoring a group of girls through a digital outreach program for underrepresented youth in tech. They don't know what I do. They just call me Ms. Aaron. That's enough. That's more than enough. A few weeks ago, I got a letter. It was handwritten, carefully penned. Folded once, no return address. Inside Aaron, I don't know how to undo things. But I've been thinking about that night every day. You're right. I never asked who you were. I assumed. I projected. I built a world where my story made sense, and I made you smaller so I could feel bigger in it. I didn't know that made me cruel. I'm sorry. Tiffany. I sat with that letter for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't text her. I didn't rush to accept the apology like it was a prize I'd waited to win. I folded it back up, slid it into a drawer, and whispered, "Good. Not for her. For me." Some part of me still hopes my niece reads the letter I wrote for her. Maybe when she's 12 or 25. or when she's standing in a room where someone tries to make her feel small for being different. Maybe she'll pull it out and know that somewhere out there she had an aunt who saw everything they didn't, who chose silence as armor, and then chose voice as liberation. The work continues. Last week, I coordinated the shutdown of a cyberphishing operation targeting the military health system. No headlines, no press release, but 7,000 families stayed safe because of it. I ate dinner alone that night, barefoot in my apartment, with the hum of encrypted monitors in the background and a jasmine candle flickering on the windowsill. It was quiet, but not lonely. There's a difference. People think revenge always looks like rage, like fire and confrontation and yelling across rooms. But I've learned something else. Sometimes revenge is choosing not to shrink. It's reclaiming your shape without permission. It's sitting at your own table and realizing you don't need an invitation to be whole. I keep that badge in a different drawer now, not hidden, not flaunted, just present, like me. My name is Erin Dwyer. I'm 36 years old. I work in the kind of job that requires silence, precision, and nerves of steel. I've been overlooked, dismissed, and underestimated more times than I can count, but I have never, not once, stopped protecting the people I love, even when they never saw it. And today, I protect myself too, not with walls, with truth, with presence, with a quiet, unshakable knowing that I am not a failure. I am the firewall, the contingency, the one who stayed when no one clapped, the one who built her life anyway. When I left that baby shower, they whispered, "Ma'am, they're here." What they didn't know is, so was I, finally, wholly, unapologetically.